We have made it back home to Los Angeles, and what we start noticing in our home city is that there's no shortage of incredible animal welfare organizations thinking outside the box. Our documentary journey began in 2016, and it is now coming to a close. But the work will continue.
Wings of Rescue was started in 2009 by two pilots, Cindy Smith and Yehuda Netanyahu, who had recognized that there were dogs. At the time, the United States was killing over 4 million pets in shelters each year. And there were places in the country where they didn't have pets for adoption because there were none available. And they recognized the disparity and decided that they wanted to make an effort to do something about it. We've been flying planes from Oklahoma. We've been flying where dogs are gassed to death in shelters, which is just brutal and barbaric. We've been taking dogs from the Louisiana floodplains. We've been taking dogs from Georgia.
So you have animals of your own, I assume?
Yes, I have more than the law permits.
Yes. Doesn't everyone?
I have 10 rescue dogs.
Oh my gosh.
We're the Band-Aid. Wings of Rescue is a Band-Aid. We are not the solution. The solution is spay neuter. If we don't spay neuter, we're never gonna end the problem. I mean, anybody who sees this, go to your municipal shelter and volunteer. We all have the power. Everybody watching this has the power on their own. They don't have to wait for somebody else. We don't expect to change the world by yourself, but if we all join together, we can.
Because we fly airplanes, we can head them in each direction we want. And we fly fast, and we fly often, and we'd like to save a lot of pets from wherever the help is needed.
Okay, how many animals can fit in one of these little planes?
And the one behind me right now, which is our chartered cargo Metroliner, we're fitting 111 pets today.
That's fantastic. And the pilots are volunteering, right? You have a lot of volunteer pilots?
All but our chartered cargo planes are volunteer pilots, myself included. And all told, we've flown over 23,000 shelter pets to date.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
This year alone, 9,000. And our goal for next year is 15,000. Although it's exciting to fly the pets to the new homes, we are one organization that wish did not exist. We would like to close down the charity because there's no longer a need to fly those pets.
That would be the best reason to close.
That would be the best reason to close Wings of Rescue. But until then, unfortunately, the numbers keep growing, and we are trying to stay a drop in a bucket.
So we've been friends for over 20 years. You've been in animal rescue and advocacy since probably before I had met you. And in all those years, I never felt like you pushed it on me or any of our friends.
Well, I mean, you inspire me now with what you're doing, and I'm so proud of what you're doing. I think I try to do like that, lead by example kind of, because I feel like if you push too much before somebody's ready, they set up a wall, and then they don't hear the lesson, and they don't see what you need them to see. Because I have had a long journey. I started with volunteering, and then I co-founded a Dog's Life Rescue in 2005 with my rescue partner, Julia Pennington, and we were doing the foster-based rescue, the street rescue. We mostly did street rescue where, we get dogs that were dumped in parks and cats in neighborhoods, and it's hard to find fosters sometimes. It's hard to continue to raise money, and we would rescue one dog and there's 100 after it. We have to do something different. There has to be other answers. So we would do these humane education programs with kids to try to get them at a young age and teach them about responsible pet ownership and why it's important to spay and neuter your family pet. If they get to engage and interact with a dog like Huckleberry, who's so sweet, and see that, there is a bond that they can form, and it creates empathy and engagement, and it's just they see animals in a whole other light, and they can talk to their parents about it. After we were doing the programs, the spay neuter programs and the educational programs, we were still hitting all these roadblocks, these obstacles, and the biggest one is raising funds. Like raising funds, each time we do a free spay neuter program, it's thousands of dollars. So we had to start thinking outside of the box.
So that's how Hera, the dog Vodka, was born.
Yes, that's how Hera was born. Where our goal is with Hera is to donate 50% of all profits to local rescue organizations. So everything sold in Los Angeles, all the bottles that are sold in Los Angeles, it goes back to support rescues in Los Angeles. And the same, like everything that's sold in San Diego, we support rescues in San Diego. And we support companion animals, we support farm sanctuaries, and we also support wildlife sanctuaries and rehabilitation centers.
I love it. I love it so much. It's definitely thinking outside the box and bringing in a lot of people that wouldn't otherwise even be aware or care, maybe.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just want to know how they can help, and if it's as simple as having a drink,
Hey, why
then
not?
hey, it's very easy. Just if you're going to get vodka anyways, if you're going to have a cocktail anyways, get one that's going to give back.
It is exciting to connect with friends who are already on this mission. Lee and I went to elementary school together, and she introduced me to Love Leo Rescue.
Tell me what some of your biggest rewards are in fostering a doggy. I think for the seniors, it's really just giving them a good retirement. You know, you think they've lived their life, being a loyal companion to whoever it was, and then they find themselves in the shelter, confused, old. The thought of them dying alone and scared in a shelter is, I mean, it's so awful. So for me, it's giving a dog a great retirement, whether it's a week, a year, whatever it is.
Right. Tell me how social media, do you think, in your opinion, has helped save more dog lives and change the...
Night and day. I mean, it's been, I think, during the time that I've started rescuing, so I've been rescuing for maybe 12 years or so. And over that time, we've seen social media just explode, and it has changed everything. People could look and go, okay, that's a nice picture, and there's information about that dog, and this is, far better than going on the shelter website and seeing a crappy picture
Behind bars
of a frightened animal with bad lighting and zero information. So it's really transformed how we've been able to get dogs adopted out of the shelter. If you can empower people by telling them, hey, you can make a difference by just doing small things, I think we can change things.
Hi, I'm Sasha Abelson. I'm the founder of Love Leo Rescue. It's actually in honor of my dog that passed away, Leo, and he was my first rescue dog as an adult. And I didn't know what was going on in the shelters. I had grown up with rescue dogs. Once I adopted Leo and found out what was happening to dogs and that we actually are euthanizing healthy adoptable dogs because there's not enough homes for them, my eyes opened up, and somehow you can't unknow what you know.
It's hard, and I know that a lot of my friends and people who would love to adopt will not set foot in a shelter, and it bums me out because you want to save these dogs, and you can't take them all. How do you guys do your dog
I used to get in
selection?
a lot of trouble going to the shelter, and because it's really hard to walk away, because you literally know that if you walk away, that dog will probably die. So a lot of the dogs I find just because someone tags me on Facebook and they're like, look at this great dog, or someone calls me up, texts me with a dog, I actually try and stay away from the shelters too, because it breaks my heart. And anytime I go to the shelter looking for dog A, I always find dog B that I have to help somehow. So it's hard. It's really heartbreaking because it's kind of you or nothing.
Hi, my name is Jamie Radofsky. I am here with the rescue train. I've been on the board since the beginning. There were like 3 of us on the board. And then a few years into it, we thought we need to do an event that is not just for us, but for the other kind of mom and pop rescue groups in Los Angeles. I remember when we started, I think we had more volunteers than participants. It has grown into this huge, amazing event where I think we have over 30 nonprofit animal rescue welfare organizations. It's not just for dogs and cats, horses. We've had bunny rescue, guinea pig rescue, and it's all to help all these other organizations raise money and do this work and help save animals.
I had been a student of Jamie's And that is how I found out about the rescue train and started participating in the yearly Race for the Rescues. It's a beautiful mission of collaboration.
Currently, there's about 50,000 dogs in laboratories across the US, and more than 95% of those dogs are Beagles. They are the breed of choice for the animal testing industry. They're a very mellow dog. They're very, very forgiving, and they're natural-born people pleasers. And they generally don't bite people, and that's the reasons that they're picked for laboratory testing. And all the dogs in labs in the US have these numbers tattooed inside of their ears.
Oh my gosh.
And this is Belle's federal ID number. And so until she was rescued, so for the first 2 years of her life, she lived in a cage in a lab in Northern California. And it was only at the point that she was rescued that she was given a name instead of a number. In the US, there's a number of really large breeding companies that specifically breed beagles and hounds, larger hounds, for laboratory testing. Those companies are bioresources companies. And so Belle was purchased from one of those companies as a puppy and shipped to the lab that she was tested on in Northern California. And she lived there until she was released.
And why do they euthanize them? Are the dogs not well after, or a lot of them not well after being?
Well, sometimes the study requires the animals to die at the end of the study. So in a lot of toxicity testing to test the toxic nature of products, the animal's death is really part of the study that they're doing. So often the dogs die in the studies that they're in. But on other occasions, it's really just common practice for them to euthanize them at the end of the study for multiple reasons, one of which is that they just don't want people to know that they're doing it. And so these dogs being out in the community, us being out here on a day like today, telling people about animal testing, allowing people to meet a dog like Belle, to see the tattoo inside of her ear, they don't like that because they don't want people to know that that's what they're doing. It really is the industry's dirty little secret that these dogs that we share our homes with, are the same dogs that they're doing these terrible things to.
I used to own a company called Natural Balance Pet Foods, and when I had that company, I donated millions of pounds to all the animal rescue people because it was my belief they were the ones going into the shelters, taking animals off death row, putting them in foster. They were making the dent, and so I supported that. But when I didn't have the company anymore, I didn't have food. So I looked at the problem and said, okay, I got to get on the other side of this. And so I started the Lucy Pet Foundation with mobile spay and neuter trucks. I hired veterinarians and RBTs and have a staff, and we started going out doing spay and neuter for free. That's what it's all about, educating people about spay and neuter. So this is the only portable canine surf machine in the world. It's called Lucy Pet's Gnarly Crankin' Canine Wave Maker. It's also a fun part to it, but it's also a serious part to it because I've done a lot of TV shows with this thing because all the news crews want to cover it because it's fun. But it also allows me to get the message out of what Lucy Pet Foundation is about, which is spay and neuter your pet. 80,000 dogs and cats a week are getting euthanized, so you got a responsibility to spay and neuter. So I get the message out.
My name is Sydney. I'm the founder of Choose Life Dog Rescue, and we founded the rescue in Los Angeles, but we cover all of Southern California. So we actually focus on bully breed dogs and dogs with behavioral issues because we work really closely with our trainer, and we're all about the misunderstood. That's like our thing. So we take dogs from shelters, we find them as strays, or sometimes we intercept dogs going from owners to shelters that when they're going to relinquish the dog. Mainly shelters though in Los Angeles County. We depend on our foster homes and we give them as much support as we can. We pay for everything and medical and the training, and before we've even arrived to the foster's home, they change their mind. And that's where our trainer comes in because we don't believe in putting dogs in boarding facilities long term, only for a few days at a time if they're in limbo.
I mean, I just feel like people think training is a luxury, and I see it more as a necessity.
I do too. I would like to think of it more as like therapy. I know a lot of people recommend going to marriage counseling before you even get married. You can think of it as like a precautionary measure. Working with our trainer, a lot that we've realized is that you're training the person, you're not really training the dog. I'll have dogs that act a totally different way with me than they do with someone else. It's all about your energy and how you communicate with them. So if anything, I think it's more beneficial for the human. I mean, you guys talk about the canine condition, and I think by helping dogs, you're helping everyone, because we created dogs, we've domesticated them, they've had this partnership with us, and if it can teach us to be more patient and understanding and more tolerant of other types of communication, I mean, that can help us just in general with other people, any other living being. And I think it can start with dogs because of the unique and awesome bond that we have with them.
So I want to establish for our audience and our viewers that you and I have known each other for quite a number of years, and we've lived in Los Angeles and worked here. We've connected on a whole other level because we both found ways to give back, to volunteer, because animals mean a lot to us.
I never went into, volunteering at a rescue thinking that one day I would co-found a nonprofit. We're a team of 5 women. Some of us come from rescue, and 2 come from veterinary care. We have Dr. Soto, who is an orthopedic surgeon. So what we do is help organizations locally and abroad with their rescue efforts, and what that looks like is fundraising for them, funding spay and neuter programs, sometimes finding fosters and adopters.
I've been asked, why do people bring dogs from other countries here? We're flooded, we're killing so many dogs in the United States. Why are you guys bringing more? Why are you guys helping more?
Well, we were just a few months ago in Vietnam and Cambodia. We have rescue partners there that we work with. These animals are just out in the street, and you're thinking, are they strays? Do they belong to anyone? They're sick. They're dying. When you see something, for me, I can't unsee it. I have to help. And I know how easy it is. I think people get scared. They're like, oh, that's just way too much to take on. But it just takes one person to make a difference. I know that sounds like a bumper sticker, but it's so true.
But it is.
It's true.
Yeah. So just tell us what the future of WUFA looks like. What are some of the things that people will see coming from your organization, and especially if they want to get involved?
Well, we're going to continue our mission of helping animals in any which way we can, especially with spay and neuter. We also are going to Cuba very soon to supply medical supplies there because they need everything they can get there. It's very hard for everyone across the board. We're also going to Nepal later on in the fall to help with mass sterilization. I don't think our work is ever really done, and it's really about joining forces. It's joining together and making it happen.
Joining forces and making it happen. She's right. On one of my many trips visiting shelters, I saw Rocky. I couldn't get him out of my head. I knew exactly who I was going to text for help.
So the last time we met in person and talked about Love Leo Rescue, you had shared with me that you don't really visit the shelters yourself anymore, but there's enough information via social media, posts, texts coming at you, and that's what happened with Rocky.
We posted him for a foster. We're a foster-based rescue, so we don't have a facility. We don't have a place that we can just put our dogs, so we rely on fosters. They're kind of our bridge from the shelter to their forever homes.
And that reminds me of Romeo.
Right.
Who's still looking for his forever home. Tell us a little bit about Romeo and his journey and that he's still waiting.
We saw his plea on another Facebook post or whatever, and he had declined rapidly at the shelter in the 6 months that he'd been there. He went from being this kind of young blue pit bull to being this, muzzle with a gray on it, older dog. His face had gotten a little sunken. It was clearly very stressful for him. And he also had some digestive issues and some skin issues that really needed to be taken care of. So we knew that he wasn't going to get adopted, and he was on the red list. So we pulled him, and then we got him into a great foster home, and he's been there, but unfortunately no interest in him because there's just so many dogs that look like him right now looking for homes, and it's a lot of competition. So he's a great dog. He's good with little dogs and big dogs. He's pretty mellow, so when you adopt an older dog, you don't have to take him on a 5-mile hike every day. You get to chill with them a little bit more, so there's a lot of benefits to having an older dog.
What would you say has either changed for the better or for the worse?
Yeah, I don't know what's changed, to be honest with you. It's pretty bad right now. There's a lot of dogs in the shelter, and a lot of them are not making it out. It just seems like people don't make plans for their dogs when they move. People are not spaying and neutering. What has changed for the good is that people are more aware. More people want to foster, and more people want to adopt dogs. It's becoming a kind of cooler thing to do, so that's great.
I'm Danielle. I adopted Rocky from Love Leo Rescue. I found out about Rocky through Instagram. Love Leo posted about him, and they needed large dog fosters, so I convinced my husband that it was only a foster. We weren't going to try to adopt him. And then a month later, we adopted him on my birthday.
I had seen him at the Castaic Lake shelter as I was there visiting to get a dog for another rescue, and he just, those eyes, I mean, that look, and he sat so politely in his kennel.
He was such a good dog, and my husband was like, we're not adopting him. But he was just so great with the kids, with everybody else, and he was just like, it's just silly not to. The first night we had him, he just crawled into my son's bed and slept in there all night long.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
He was like, this is my home.
I love hearing that, especially because there are so many of his breed and his mix that don't get that second chance.
Yeah, and the age too. I know Sasha had called me and was like, there's another woman who wants an older dog, and we'd only had him for a couple days, and I was like, I'm not ready.
You wanted to foster him longer?
I was like, I don't think he's ready. He should stay for a few more weeks. And then she was like, okay.
Oh, that's so funny.
If you don't want a dog forever, you don't have to have a dog forever. You're just giving them a chance to survive and find the perfect home in a better environment. And who wouldn't want to do that?
I always knew I wanted to be involved in animal welfare, so I thought maybe using entertainment as a platform to raise awareness for animals would be the best route to go. With my foundation, Peace for Animals, we founded that based on endangered species, and so protecting elephants, rhinos, tigers, the most endangered species on the planet. But we do partner with other organizations and pull from the shelters. So even though we don't have an actual rescue facility, we'll go out and we will foster animals and bottle feed and do whatever we can.
How do you think even getting involved with even dog rescue is helpful to the other species?
Well, I think it starts with that. It starts with dogs or cats or domestic animals, and then once you venture into rescuing and rehabilitating those animals and finding them homes, you feel like, okay, well, wow, I did this. If I can do this, I can do the horses, I can do possibly the elephants and work with foundations in Africa or India. But it depends, because a lot of people are very specific when it comes to their passion. I think we're in a really crucial time period right now. We're at a crossroads, and if we don't speak up and we don't use our voices to protect the rest of our Earth species, we're going to lose them. We do need to fix our laws and legislation and tighten spay and neuter bills and make it mandatory that these pet stores, like in Los Angeles, adopt animals out actually from shelters rather than getting them from backyard breeders. And if you have a platform in this business, whatever business you're in, I believe that you have to use it for the greater good and something greater than yourself. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be animals. And there's no coincidence that we're sitting here right now, and there's no coincidence that you guys are doing this documentary, because it's needed and the time is now. Before we lose our species and then inevitably ourselves. So we have to keep fighting, and we have to keep using our voices.
I've become very passionate about animal advocacy within the shelter system and, showing what is going on here, because the truth is things have gotten worse.
They have gotten worse. But when I saw videos on your social media pages of the visits you make to the shelter, it moved me. It made me angry. Tell me what it does for your organization, why you feel these visits are necessary, and why you make these videos.
I think it's so important to not sugarcoat anything. If we don't tell the truth about what's going on, people aren't going to know. They aren't going to know that, the shelters are not a safe place for dogs. This one day I was at the shelter, I was rescuing this dog named Ruby. She was incredibly emaciated. She couldn't walk. She essentially had been kept in a crate for 9 years. The people that did this to her, they need to be held accountable. And we need to educate people on, if you see abuse like this happening, you need to report it. You need to do something about it. And I just realized that there's so many more things just than going to the shelter and rescuing a dog. The whole no-kill LA false narrative, that hurt us.
I agree.
People should not be thinking that our shelters are a safe place. They're not. They were never no-kill. Our jobs, one of my jobs, is to educate people that we need the public opinion. We need the public to say, no, this is not okay, and we are gonna join this fight, and we are gonna demand change. I know we can change things because, every day I'm getting hundreds of messages from people saying, what can I do to help? Tell me what I can do. I don't have money to donate, but I could transport. I can't do this, but I can do that. And it's so amazing to see so many people wanting to change things and wanting to help and wanting to get involved. I didn't go to college to be an animal rescuer. I didn't know that this would encompass my life, but it has. And I think that if we all do it and, we're one big team, then we could just completely change things for animals and just make it such a better world for them. If you go to a breeder, this is your fault. All of these angels.
Can you tell us a story maybe about a recent rescue or something that could inspire more people out there to take a chance?
Recently, my rescue partner Joey and my girlfriend and I went down to the Downey shelter. We had 2 dogs we were trying to rescue that were red listed, but we found this 11-month-old pitty mix that was just terrified, trembling, and it reminded us so much of one of our babies that we had to get the dog out in the play area, and I think it had been there for 2 months. It was a week and a half past its red list deadline. When we got him out of the shelter, it was clear, because he was only 11 months old, he had been developing as he's growing, but he hadn't ran in probably a couple months. So when I took him out to the dog park for the first time, he was like a little baby deer, for the first time out there in the field. I never sat on the couch. I was always out on the streets trying to help the dogs because the shelters had shut down. They brought me on as a partner. So then that snowballed, and now we're 3 years later, I'm still doing it.
How do you guys approach families who have never had a dog, who want to help you volunteer or foster, but they've never had a dog? Is there a chance for them to jump on board?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whether someone's ever had a dog before, or if it's their first time, we want to give them all the tools. So all the information on helping the dog decompress and get settled in, because it's not only for the dog getting settled in, but also for the humans. We have trainers that we work with. We do the meet and greets ourselves, and a big part of it is educating the people who are fostering the dogs to give them the best opportunity of finding their forever home. It's about finding balance. I'm able to take my work from filmmaking and photography and bring that into the rescue. And then a lot of people I meet who rescue and adopt through us or foster for us are in the industry as well. So that helps out. The fact that my girlfriend also likes to rescue helps out.
Yes.
So we're spending our time with the dogs that we're trying to help. I just wish most people could have that one experience of walking through a shelter.
Right.
And they would understand. Or more people would volunteer, and that the media and politicians and all them would pay attention more and go into the shelters to spread the news, because it is going to be a big community thing. And I'm just very shocked that we're at the state we're in 2023 in Los Angeles. We should be on the forefront. We should be the staple of what everyone aspires to be with when it comes to how we take care of our animals.
I can't think of a better person to talk to about taking care of our animals than our amazing veterinarian and friend, Dr. Palmquist. I always feel that he knows exactly what to say to educate us and help us stay inspired.
If you're in certain situations where you realize that most of the dogs you see are going to be put to sleep, the waste of life just is more than a person can face. A lot of people like to support a charity so they don't have to see that, right? So it's like, here I gave some money to the Hollywood Rescue Group, and I know that they saved these 3 dogs and I did something good, and now I can go back and do what I do. But we can all do more, and it isn't necessarily a function just of how much money we're willing to give or how much time we're willing to give. We can always do more. We also have to be careful that we don't get in a situation where we feel obligated to do everything. I think veterinarians are a big part of that. We have a policy in our practice where we take a certain number of these animals at a time, and we work with them until we find them a home, and then we take the next ones. But if we just open the door, my whole practice would be full of these dogs in a week and a half, and I wouldn't have any time left to spend with my clients. So we have to find that balance point, and everybody's got to participate. One of the things that I do is, my area of rescue is through my practice. That's how I do it. And then we support those rescue groups in the ways that we support them. And we love them because they allow us to rescue dogs and cats that we couldn't rescue before.
So how can improving the canine condition perhaps help improve the human condition?
Well, I like the way you framed the question, because The answer is a lot of times in the words for us. And the word condition comes from two words, right? Con means with, and diction is the root word for dictionary. And it actually means agreed upon. So our condition is what we agree upon. And if we agree that communities can do more and that we each can do more, then we end up doing more and our communities become better places to live. But what changes the condition is changing the heart of the person who's making the choices. And so we have a choice to be afraid, and we have a choice to love.
Tell me what the love of your dogs means to you.
Tears and fears. They make my life better. They make my life unpredictable and interesting and calmer in ways that you don't even appreciate. You know, like when they come up and put their head on your lap or sit on your lap for that 4 or 5 minutes while you're watching TV or doing something before they go off and want you to throw the ball or whatever else it is. There's this abiding peace, and I think dogs can give us that. You know, I think part of why we love dogs is that dogs open the door that we are so taught by a lot of our culture to close, you know, and then once we open the door a little bit, if we find somebody else who likes dogs, then we can open our heart a little together, and then all of a sudden now we can talk about things that we wouldn't have talked about before, and we die in the silence, you know, we die in the disconnection. It's the connection that makes the video, that makes the movie, that makes the book, that makes the poetry that changes people's hearts. And to me, dogs are unfettered love walking around on this planet. Whether they're stray dogs or not, they are love going, you guys could do better, let me show you how.
Our Dublin was the reason we started our own rescue journey 13 years ago. We love her beyond measure. Thank you, Dublin, for opening our eyes to the canine condition. You are my soul dog. I hope everyone will find their soul dog as they journey through life on this earth.
When I don't know where to go, and I don't know where to turn to, I know at least that I got you. And when I'm feeling sad and lonely, and I need someone to hold me, I know at least that I got you. When life doesn't turn out like I planned, then I need someone who understands what I'm going through. It takes a lot to keep up our defenses, broken hearts, white picket fences, and days gone by. But when there's nothing left to do, it's right then that I think of you. When I don't know where to go, and I don't know where to turn,